Can something as simple as changing the way we think about aging help us live significantly better as we get older? An increasing amount of research says yes. Here with the stories, WSJ reporter Ann Tergesen. Ann, thanks so much for being with us. You looked at several studies, including a recent Yale study. Does it all boil down to a question of perception? If we perceive our lives as getting better, our bodies will respond in kind?
Yeah, it turns out this has a big impact on the way we age. And a lot of studies have looked at the difference between people who have more negative views on aging and those who have more positive views.
And did these studies adjust for differences like education and socioeconomic background and health?
Yeah, most of them do. You know, they're finding things like people who have more positive views on aging have better handwriting, they walk more quickly, but even so, they also have smaller rates of cardiac disease, they have lower odds, higher odds of recovering from cardiac problems. So they're finding pretty significant health benefits.
It's very exciting and news for all of us because we are all aging. This is a universal issue. So let's look at how we can apply some of these things to our own lives. And I think one of the first things you talk about in your article is separating the myth from the reality. We have this idea that older people live less satisfying lives, but the reality is when they report their satisfaction in several key areas, they report higher than normal levels of satisfaction.
Yeah, so if you actually delve into the scientific research on this, you find that, there's all these myths about aging. For example, that as we get older, we're lonelier, we're more depressed. Well, that's actually not true at all. If you look at the mental health statistics as the nation as a whole, but if you also look at studies that psychologists do, older people are reporting, better relationships. They're reporting more satisfaction with life.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Good news. And you also say that we need to recognize the stereotypes in everyday life, both those of society and those that we may hold ourselves, correct?
Exactly. Well, it's really hard not to hold, ageist stereotypes when you grow up in a society that kind of venerates youth. And so what happens to people is that, when we're young, we accept a lot of these age-related stereotypes without question. And then all of a sudden they become relevant to ourselves as we get older. So you're sort of hit with the situation where all of a sudden you've bought into these stereotypes for years and years and years. It's very hard to push back. And so when you think about it, these stereotypes are relatively pervasive, and very few of us as we get older even really kind of question them, which is odd.
So we need to question and reject the stereotypes. And finally, exercise. Exercise seems to be a big boost for the elderly, correct?
Yeah, that is one way that people can kind of can help themselves to adopt a better attitude towards aging. And, it's kind of obvious in a way. If you exercise, you feel better. This contributes to better well-being, and your experience of aging is more positive.
It is sort of obvious, but I love the study that showed a control group that did, 3 days a week of exercise versus the control group that did 3 days a week of a computer class.
Exactly.
The exercise group reported greater satisfaction.
Yeah, exactly. And there was even a third group that just was sort of going about their normal routines. And the exercise class apparently was quite rigorous. And one of the researchers told me she was sweating. And so I think that, there's a big lesson there.
Yeah, for all of us. Thank you so much, Ann,
You're
for that.
welcome.